Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's session. My name is Danny, and I'm the event planner for the New York Reactor Space. Before we start, I have a few things to go over. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Useful links will be shared in the chat. The session is recorded and will be available on demand 24 to 48 hours on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. Which brings us to today's session. It'll run for approximately 1 hour with time for questions throughout. I will now turn it over to our speaker for introductions.
Hi everyone, thank you all for joining. I'm super excited to be here in our last session of this live stream series, GitHub Foundations. I'm super excited to see you all here. Please share in the chat where you're looking at from. I'm actually located in Mexico, so it will be amazing to know where are you based. So moving forward with just a quick recap all these live stream series that we have been talking about, especially in its content. We have been sharing about what is an introduction to GitHub, their certifications, also on how to get started with GitHub Spaces, and how to use Copilot. But the most important thing for this live stream series today, we will be talking about how to work with a GitHub repository that I had to. There was a little of typo, so no worries. We will be talking about today on how to work with a GitHub repository with the also with important note that here are the steps I'll be sharing out on the chat. Is the steps that you need to take into account to redeem the voucher that we are going to share in a couple minutes at the end, almost at the end of the live stream. And so also be aware of the chat. We also will be sharing the code so you can redeem it as soon as we share it. And here are the steps that you can use. Here are the steps that you can use to also learn and to prepare yourself to take these GitHub Foundation certification. So please use it. These are like all the resources that we have, so you can prepare yourselves. And please, let's welcome Corey Sigurd. So he's our amazing speaker for today, and I will leave the stage for Corey. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Gabriel, for the introduction. And yeah, I was a little bit nervous that I would have to do the GitHub Copilot demo I was not ready to do. So thank you, everyone, for joining. I love to see a lot of activity in the chat, which is great. Since this is going to be a GitHub, GitHub themed talk, I'd love to know if you have any GitHub names. So if you have like your GitHub username, I will follow you. I will be your first follower on GitHub. So go ahead, throw that into the chat. I'm going to put mine, or I can't really, but maybe someone behind the studio. It's Corey, KoreySpace, Corey Space is mine. So you can give me a follow and we can learn together even after this. So let me know your GitHub name. I see some that's cool. CBTK15. But we can be all friends. There we go. Thank you, Corey Space. So give me a follow. I'll give you a follow, and we will grow with GitHub together. So today's session is called Working with the GitHub Repository. And before I get into the actual presentation, I want to say, maybe you have different experiences with GitHub, maybe in terms of maybe you've worked with GitHub before, or this is your first time seeing GitHub. I would say even if you've worked with GitHub every single day, it can be intimidating at times. Largely because you have all this important code in some cases, and then you don't want to mess up anything. You get a little bit fearful. If it's your first time seeing all the options in GitHub, you get confused on these terms, pull requests, issues. What are these things? So today is going to be a little bit, I wouldn't say therapy session or anything like that, but hopefully if you're brand new to GitHub, this will help you out to navigate the world of GitHub, get a lot of value into it. And if you aren't new, but you're familiar with GitHub, and obviously some of you are because I see all the great GitHub usernames here, then hopefully maybe you'll see at least something that you haven't seen before, or maybe you are going to become even more skillful in the stuff that you've seen before or you've done before, but you see a new feature or something like that. Because GitHub is a product, and new features are continuing to get released. Love to see all the activity here. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll talk about what we're going to focus on today. So I had some weird times with PowerPoint. Getting this into full screen, so hopefully you can see it. This is not going to be much of a slide heavy presentation anyways, so this is only to keep me grounded in what I'm going to talk about, because I could go on in different ways in terms of talking about GitHub and working with a repository. So this is hopefully to just give me a guidance and I guess some visuals for you as well. So first thing we'll talk about is entering a repo. So once you actually get to a repository, so a repo is short for repository. If you're completely new to that term, you'll hear many people talk about it as repos. So first I'm going to look at like once I see a repository, what insights that we can get, understanding of that. What can you learn about that just from looking at a repo? And then we're going to look at learning about a repo. So with GitHub, there's some particular insights as you as a developer or someone interested in becoming a developer, how in fact you can kind of find out what's going on in the repo pretty quickly. And then to the last part, which is kind of the I would say, not the reason, there's obviously many reasons for GitHub out there in the world, but being able to contribute to a repository or a repo is probably the number one use case for using GitHub. Obviously, creating your own projects is another major use case, but most of the time, even if you're starting out as a developer, being able to find repos that are of interest to you and then making a contribution, so contributing to open source, is a big thing for either career-wise and also just self-satisfaction, right? That you've added something to a project and you made some sort of positive contribution. Let me know in the chat if you've ever contributed to open source. I would love to know that. I see a lot of people with GitHub accounts, which is really great. But let's see, are you putting it to use? Are you contributing to open source? And no shame if you haven't, for sure. But I'd love to see if there's like some good open source contributors out there. And the last part is a bonus. So this is following the GitHub Fundamentals Certification program. But I'm going to show you some things that aren't necessarily on the things in terms of but I think are really great GitHub features to talk about. So I see some not yets on contributing, which is completely okay. So I like not yets. That means you're still planning in your head. And I'm going to hopefully teach you some ways to find things that you could contribute, some repos you can contribute to, either small contributions or large contributions, so you can get going on that. And yes, I haven't seen a lot of people looking forward to that. Add a repo to others following a datathon I competed in. That sounds fun, datathons. Baharam says not yet too. So a lot of people, you're ready to contribute, but maybe you don't know how or don't know where. So hopefully we'll answer all those questions. So like I said, I apologize for this not being in full screen, but we're going to have to work with this for now. So first thing we're going to do is actually enter a repo. We're going to look at a real repo here instead of, I know sometimes we show a lot of the GitHub demos and we start with we create a repository and then we go through the steps. But I want to actually show you a real repository in action that has a lot of different things going on, because when you see it's one that has a lot of different things going on, maybe you'll understand, why we use GitHub heavily in world of software development, and also find new ways around a repo that does have a lot of activity going on. We'll look at the different visibility types within repositories. We're going to look at the README, which is very important to understanding a lot about the repository as well, and then also some the stats within a repository, what they mean, why they're sort of important, or why people focus on those things in terms of activity. So we're going to look at this repo here. Hopefully, let me know in the chat if you can't see this well enough. I've zoomed in pretty well, but there's always sometimes with the streaming and stuff like that, things get a little grainy. But this is a repo that I'm actually a maintainer on. And it's something that if you're interested in generative AI, this is going to be like a small little plug to this repository called Generative AI for Beginners. So if you're interested in GitHub and you're also interested in generative AI, do check this repo out because I'm a maintainer on it. And what that means in terms of maintainer is that I have the ability to merge pull requests, which we'll talk about later on. And also, I'm responsible for responding to issues or assigning issues. And again, that's something else we'll talk about later on as well. So we have this repo, generative AI for beginners. So we can see, like I said, the first thing we can probably see, we'll point here, is that this is a public repository. What you see here is the visibility status. So when you're making your private, projects, when you are making projects yourself, you are very much able to either make these public or private. And maybe if you start working at a company, which I've had experience with as well, some of your repositories are going to be private, meaning that who is a part of the organization or whoever you give access to will only be the ones that can see this code and also make contributions. But then, it's always, I guess, really encouraged from an open source perspective, if you are looking for contributors to your project, or you want to show your project to other people and your code, that you make this public. I think you can change these in your settings as well in terms of what's the default. But I also always kind of make my projects public so that, again, they have some visibility to them if people want to contribute to that. We'll start at the top as well. So we can also see things like forks and stars. This won't be, we've had some sessions already on some of the basics of Git and GitHub in terms of what these terms mean, I think. So won't go too much in depth there in terms of forks or cloning. But if you look at a repository and you see, some activity around forks, this generally and not always means that, but that means that in terms of contributions, that maybe these people in the future might want to actually contribute to this. So you will see that people have forked their own copy. So this, in case there's 22,000 people that have forked this version, and that also allows them later on, if they want to contribute to their own to this course, they also have that ability. So forking is a good way, if you especially when you look at open source projects and you want to contribute to them. Looking at how many forks they have is one indicator of how much activity is going on in terms of this repo here. Starred, a lot of people like to look at as well. I think it's more of a vanity metric, or just a metric to show how many people are sort of interested in it. You can kind of think of this as bookmarks. And if you're anything like me, I bookmark a lot of websites, a lot of tweets, a lot of things like that I don't necessarily come back to. But this is also a good indication of the traction that the repo has amongst the community, which I think is another good thing if you're looking to contribute to open source, right? Looking at this activity, how many people are interested in it, maybe it's also an indicator of like where you want to focus your efforts on contributing as well. So if you see one with little stars, but you think it's something important, right, then you should definitely contribute to it. And the forks as well is also a good way to look at that. So the most important thing, and this has a lot of files, so you'll see all the files and things like that that are included here in terms of the code, and we'll probably dig deep into some of these as well. But I want to start here at the README, and this is kind of like the front door of repositories in general, especially here on GitHub. So one of the things when you are entering a repository is to read the README. That sounded redundant there, but also kind of look into detail, because a lot of times, especially let's say this is an application per se, the README should have the basic instructions on either installing it, a link to the documentation page to find more details, or generally how this repository is working or how you should use it. So in this case, this is actually just a course, but it has a lot of code in it, and we'll look at that as well. But here, we have this like getting started section, which I think if you're designing a repo that you want people to contribute to, or you want to understand. Also doing like a getting started or like a very start section is a good place to be clear to your users or to people who are reading this where they should start at. In this case, we're just talking about how the course is laid out, and then also you have some other like learning materials, And then also we make a good mention here that you can complete this course. So there's some Python and TypeScript code. Laying out some of the core requirements of either running your code is also very important. And also, if you look at other READMEs, it should have those sorts of things. These are like best practices. So in this case, right, we're just saying you need access to one of the APIs using generative AI or large language models, which is, in this case, is Azure OpenAI and OpenAI API. But you'll see in other READMEs, you'll see either technical or hardware requirements or software requirements in terms of different operating systems and things like that. And then we have this like ready to deploy, right? And then even some other suggestions there. And then we also, as a best practice, right, we put in links to the files that we have, which are lessons here. So in the case of this, right, if I wanted to click on this, I'm actually going to be taken to another README, which is actually in the folder of that repository. And then this has link to a video and actually the content. So one of the first early lessons in this certification is talking about Markdown, and this is all sort of written in Markdown to make this page look as beautiful if you think it looks beautiful, or as not beautiful as if you don't think it's beautiful in this. And Markdown kind of really runs the rules here on being able to display your messages in the best way to do that. So one thing you could do if you wanted to, let's say, change the Markdown or change the way that this looks, you could go in and click on this edit file here. And you're going to see some of the GitHub flavored Markdown, which is what was referred to in the certification program here. And that is, I don't know if we have any specific GitHub flavored Markdown here, but we can see here, like, right, these are all the links. So learning Markdown, I'd say, is like a life skill because it's so good and it's so flexible and it's almost everywhere around the internet and documentation particularly. So we have things like links. So you'll see this syntax, right? It's the actual link name and then the link itself. One of the things that was really hard to do was making a table, right? Tables are sort of tricky. There are many tools out there. You can also use things like what I would say is like even like things like Copilot if you want to make a table. But you could see like this is where you get the table here. And then you can either do this in VS Code as well, but you can also preview these changes. So if I did want to make changes, I will be able to see that. So we have the table, right? We can do some bold, which is also a really good practice when you want to make emphasis on that. And then even some things like external links or links to other repos. I think that covers a lot of what we talk about with Markdown. But another thing that's kind of important, right, when we're talking about entering a repo is looking at also some of the code breakdown that's within the repo itself. So I think if I move, so to keep me on track here, I looked at the repo visibility, which I think is some questions there, and then also the README, which is understanding Markdown. So do explore that. There's a lot of different Markdown guides as well out there. And then the repo stats, understanding the stars and forks. Let me know if you have any questions. I do see a comment here on the baby needing some milk. So that's definitely not a baby. These are definitely toddlers in the background, so I apologize. But they don't need any milk, but they do need lots of love and attention for sure. So good shout. Every time I do a stream and they're on it, I always get a comment. So completely prepared for that. So the next thing we're going to do is actually take a look at how to learn about the repo. So being able to sort of review the code within the repo in case if we want to make contributions to that, the language stats that GitHub gives us, so that we can get a quick glance at what is available, and then we're also going to look at commits and where those things are in terms of if we want to track how well how recent things have been changing in the repo and what changes have been made and why that's important. So the first thing we're going to do is, is actually review the code. So like I said, all the code you'll be able to find pretty quickly in the main files here, but we can also do things like, let's say if I want to like drill down here, right, I can see that there's some Python code and there's a Jupyter notebook. So we can either clone this repo and bring it to our local machine. So that's something that I've done here, right? Let me see if I can just bring up a notebook for you. Of course, I'm clicking on all of the ones that don't have the notebook. Yeah, so this, for example, is a Jupyter notebook. So this is just a way to run Python code really, really simply, I guess, or a good way to share Python code. So we can either clone it, which I think, again, something that we've talked about in other lessons, so I won't go too much into detail here, or either also fork the repo and work with it. We also have the option, if we wanted to, opening this in code spaces, which was, I think a whole nother lesson either that we've talked about or we've covered in the past. But navigating through the code, which is in the code tab here, is a good way to get an understanding. But let's say I've walked into this notebook and I'm a Rust developer. All I know is Rust. And I look at this repo and I say, hey, I want to contribute to this repo, or I want to learn about generative AI. What's really nice about GitHub is that if I go to this right-hand side, this languages side, I can actually see a breakdown of the coding languages that are composed of in this repository. And, and some of the obscure languages, I would say, they aren't, sometimes he gets it wrong, I'll be honest with you. But more for the top popular languages out there, I don't know, 500 languages there, it's always going to be pretty accurate. But even if it's not accurate, what you could do is I can click on one of these languages, for example, and I will actually see it'll actually be filtered by the language itself. So I will actually see if this is in fact TypeScript code and what that TypeScript code is, which is really nice. Again, if in case we, for whatever reason, we don't trust the language breakdown, but also gives you an understanding, because sometimes, let's say a project says that we use Python, but it's just to do one thing, one import of something, or let's say even JavaScript, for example, right? Maybe we have a whole Python backend, and then we have JavaScript that just shows the button, the data, it just renders the data, and that data is not that complex. I know then I could look at this and know where I can contribute, or whether this repo is for me or not in terms of what I want to learn. All of these are insights that you can get from just the very basic front page of GitHub repo, and are important when you're navigating around GitHub for sure. So what the other topic? So we covered language stats. So I want to look at activity, and this is why I chose this repo in particular, because there's quite a lot of activity in terms of where we are getting, where we can get information from, right? In terms of contributions and what we want to do. So the first thing we'll look at is issues, which is a good way to understand if you want to contribute to open source, what issues have been logged in terms of this repo. So in this case, we have actually 12 open issues, and they range from different things, right? So for example, right, this issue is that there's some broken text in one of the lessons, which seems like definitely something easy to fix per se, right? I think there's the non-terminating note. So I guess this right here should be a period or something like that. And if I were one person, this is like an open call to everyone watching. Let's say I wanted to fix this issue, right? I could then go into where this person has tagged this line, which is a really good issue log for sure, and make that change. If I wanted to make that change, what we'll do is then go in, make a pull request, which we'll look at later on. And if someone like myself were to merge that, then hey, I get all the GitHub points by contributing to a project like this, right? But I'm contributing to open source. So issues sometimes are very small issues, typos, fixes, or very large issues like refactoring the code, or changing different packages and things like that. It depends on who logs the issue, and GitHub allows us to do managing things like different labels. So as a maintainer, I'm actually should be better at doing this, but I can also come in and say, hey, this is a bug. this is documentation. So for instance, let's say this this project here is a broken text. We can go into the labels, and I'm going to say this is like actually a documentation issue and doesn't need review because I've already reviewed it per se. And now this changes into documentation. So what I would encourage people to do, and we're going to actually talk about it later on, like if you're just getting started with open source, you want to, and I saw a lot of people say they're not yet ready to contribute, or they want to contribute, I would go to some popular repositories, and hopefully if they're maintained really well, you'll see things like issues around documentation, or even this, we have this good first issue. So if anyone's new, have like newcomers, so I can even put this here. I think this is good first issue for anyone trying to do, contribute here, right? This is pretty easy, soft, as we call it, softball way to get in there. So this is a good first issue, right? You can come in, put a period, and say you've contributed. Obviously, you can make more impact there. But that's just one thing, because that still takes time. And we have a good contributor list here in terms of how many people contribute to this repo. But hey, anything helps. We can also see things like this one's a little bit more in depth, right? So we have a issue here where we're pinning the wrong version of the OpenAI package. So there's a version update, and we need to change that. We still have this like template, which is good in terms of getting people to make sure that they kind of put in all the information that we need. And you might see this with other repositories as well. And I've also come in here and said, well, great issue. Do you want to make a PR yourself, or do you want to have someone else do it? And they've responded right in terms of that they're going to do that. So I'd say, hey, if you want to like get a really understanding of the value of GitHub and also contribute to open source, like do check out the issues, and hopefully you'll find either labels or going into what the actual titles are here to find out where you can contribute the best to. A lot of questions around the fundamentals and getting the certificate. So I know that's something that's coming at the end of the stream. So please be patient. We will definitely supply all of that to you. So the next thing, I think I already mentioned this, but it's pull request. Yeah, Marnie, we will share that link. I think we shared it before, but if someone can share the link to this repo, so that it's great to follow along too. Is pull request. So this is actually when not only instead of like someone saying, "Hey, here's a problem," I'm actually going to go ahead and fix that problem, or I need to contribute. I want to contribute something to this repository in terms of either code edits, new code. We have also, I'll show you later, like translations, for example. They make pull requests. And before those actually get merged into the actual main repository, the main branch of that, which everyone has access to, I, as a maintainer or someone else on the team, is responsible for reviewing them so they don't break anything, or they're aligned with the goals of the repository or whatever we're building, and then merging them later on. So we have a few here, right? And they're all we have this GitHub action thing. So anytime someone logs an issue, it actually gets this need review. So let's see here, right? This is another, like I think I've been talking about, right? This person has made a pull request, and they're going to fix typos, and then RM, which is like remove white spaces. So what's for me as a maintainer, what I like to do pretty quickly is then look at the files changed. So if you're maintaining a repo and you get a pull request, or you want to see like what activity people have done in terms of pull requests, you can always go to this files changed here, and it'll give you like the diff here on, okay, so in this case, someone wrote concepts with 2 C's, which is not concepts. That's not how you spell it, unfortunately. And this person's gone in and said, hey, I'm going to fix this concepts. Spell it right. Explicit, right? We can do explicit there. And then comprehensive is spelled wrong. So a few spelling areas, which again, like I said, it might seem very minimal, like, oh wow, this person just took some time to change it, but it is time, and I do really like when people do such things like this because it's obviously going to improve that. I'm going to go ahead and just like merge this pull request live on air. So what I could do here is I can go in and add my review. I just took a look at all these things, so I can see here, right? They're removing some white space, which is okay. Changing the spelling, which is not going to break anything. Let me check this out. Yeah, the right space. So you can see here, this is what's gone. And then I can go in, I can do review. I can comment things here. So if let's say I wanted to type like, hey, could you fix this? Or even I could review and say, hey, this looks great for me. And then have someone else review it later on. I can request changes to that person. Or in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and improve this. I'm going to submit review here. I would love to somebody try to like on air put a PR and then I will merge it. So now we have these things called GitHub Actions, which actually checks for a few things here in terms of breaking any links, which is actually really important, especially because we're doing a lot of work with Markdown. We have some also links that we want to have special characters and things on. So it's also going to check things like that. And it's also going to do some validating of Markdown in terms of locale. So some of our links, for example, shouldn't have like ENUS because not everyone is native in English, and we can make it so that you dynamically get to a page in your native language. So I'm going to go ahead and merge this. Even though it's failed some of the tests, I know exactly why it's done that. So I'm actually going to merge that. It's going to say, okay, this is the pull request, and the thing I can change this if I wanted to. And boom, we have merged on live on air a pull request into this repo. So thank you, Ryazaki, if you're watching. You're making the world a better place, open source. So that's pull request, and that's again as easy as it is to contribute to open source. And like I said, I'd love to hear someone that has on the stream here already contribute something. That'd be really cool. In terms of activity, right? So one thing, like I said, pull requests, seeing how many people are making pull requests is a good way to understand some activity around that. Another way is actually the commits. So you can actually go to this commit side here, this button, and you will see all of the pull requests that have been merged. And I think I saw there was like 989 pull requests there. And you'll see, right, like 4 days ago, I merged a few PRs, which are a pull request. And the one I just did 1 minute ago is also included there. So that's also going to give you some understanding of like the activity, right? If you see a repo that has like, let's say, hasn't merged in the last 3 years, I wouldn't say, and this is my opinion, only opinion here, I wouldn't say throw your heart into into contributing, because maybe it's actually not much activity going on with that. So Jody, that's a great question. So they have asked actually how to find open source projects that which need help. So that's going to be one of the bonuses I'm going to talk about, is like how to find projects. But one of the things that is really good, like I said, is looking at issues. And sometimes they will also have, I don't know if we have one here for a label, but maybe we do. No. Oh yeah, help wanted. Yeah. So we also have this like help wanted label. So good repos, not all of them. I'm not going to say have all of these labels or using them. Like I'm saying that and like, listen, I'm not even using all the labels here. So maybe I definitely should. But let's say if I did want to, you can go to like the issues, you can go to label, you can filter out on them and find different types of issues that either are, like I said, help wanted is a good way. If you definitely, especially these are probably going to be bigger issues that take a lot more time. Good first issues, it's like good first issues for newcomers, or things like documentation are good ways to start getting started contributing for sure. Okay, so I think I actually covered the other topic that I wanted to do, which is talking about contributing to repos. So like I said, looking at the issues, I didn't miss discussions, which is another key area. So discussions are, if everyone's like been using the internet for as long as I have, you probably remember like forums, not chat rooms and things like that. And discussions are basically forums for teams to postings to get done, and maybe even ask questions about the repo itself. So we have a few discussions going on here, not as many as I would like, but that's not a huge issue. But so, for example, in this discussion here, I posted last year that we were going to make changes to this repository in this course to for asking to adding new content, whether it's new lessons, or in this case, we were going to add TypeScript support. So I added this roadmap here, and I made a nice little table, which is again marked down. People can react to it, which is always nice to see some activity. But one of the great things about this is now, instead of, we got like a lot of questions around, hey, would you support OpenAI APIs? So another thing is that we could link to any issues that we have in terms of, oh, hey, you've asked this, you logged this as an issue. We can just link to this discussion, which saves a lot of time in terms of finding it, working with issues. So a lot of people, put some things here in terms of discussions. Also, like we want to have like a feature request. People are saying like, okay, this person's translating the course into Brazilian Portuguese. They made an announcement that they're forking this, and then someone's giving them support that I would love to watch the videos in Portuguese, which is great. So we get a lot of questions. Also, like there's some good filters and categories so you can make announcements. You can do polls. So let's say you do maintain a repo that you will have like a community around. This is a good place to do that, to get some feelings around the poll, around the community. Sorry, in terms of what they would like to see in the repo. You can do ideas as well. There's Q&A, and I think some show and tell stuff. So these are all categories, and discussions is also another good way if you want to shop around for ideas of how you can contribute to a repo. You could also look at discussions. We won't look at actions and projects. Those are more kind of internal management sort of things. I don't think necessarily the certification covers all those topics, but like I'll kind of briefly touch about projects is like a good way if you wanted to actually manage progress. Let's say, for example, I'm taking on a translation project of this repository. I can like make tasks and assign those tasks and things like that, which I could also do with issues. So as a maintainer, for example, like this person here says, Japanese needs to be translated. I can go in and like I'm the default assignee here, but I can also assign someone else to that so that they have visibility. Like, well, they can see it already, but they know that this is something they're responsible for. And I can include the project, which you see here. We have some projects coming up, and even milestones, which is like a way to manage all those things. So that's kind of a good glimpse of what you'll see and some of the insights that you'll get from working with a GitHub repo first time, right? You also see things like branches, which is again shows some activity, the code, knowing again what the forks and starks mean in terms of like you as a reader. And like I said, issues and pull requests are another kind of big thing you want to look at in terms of finding activity and finding ways you can contribute to open source repos for sure. So I had two bonuses that aren't included in the fundamentals, I think, but are really great to look at. The first one is, let me see if I can go to that. Hold on. Is actually this GitHub code search. So if you search your GitHub code search, you'll find this. It's at a link. And what this does is really cool because you can search all across GitHub for code. And also different filters and different things that you can find. So let's say you wanted to go into finding code that you want to contribute to, and you started working with OpenAI, for example. I can go in and type in OpenAI, and I'm going to show you that. But I got a lot of questions around branches, which is and tags, which I'm going to go back to and give you that insight. So We've covered some of those things in an earlier video, but since you're here now, I'll answer the questions. So branches are essentially, right, we have this main branch, if you think of a tree. It's got the main branch, which is what everything is sort of visible on when I go to this URL on this main site. So that is what is kind of, like, as it says here, is the default branch is main. But let's say I want to actually make something new, or add something to this repository. I would actually, if I wanted to work off the main branch, which I have done here, like I was adding a presentation. So what I did was I made a branch of that, so another off the branch there, and I made those changes. So I don't actually affect the main branch. Like I'm not touching that, but I'm taking all what the current state of that branch is, the code itself, the lesson, and then I'm making those changes. And what I could do, which I've done here, is then I made a pull request to basically merge that into the main branch. So the main branch is like you can kind of think of this like a train, right? A train station, right? So I've gone in, the train tracks are on the train. It's always going, it's going there. But like each station, you might have people come on, come off. And a branch is kind of like that, like the station, right? Come on, come off. So I'm going to make some changes. And then let's say I do make changes. Pull request is like, oh, everyone get on that train. All my changes are the people. They're getting on the train. And the train then goes after doing that. So that is another way, I guess one way to think about it in terms of branches. But do look at the other videos. You'll probably get a more of a technical thing, but it comes from Git and comes from source control, right? So we don't want to in a way, and this is kind of what my opener was in terms of it could be intimidating in GitHub, but GitHub is all about being able to not only manage changes but revert back when things break. So you can always like find different ways to make sure that whatever you're changing doesn't actually break the actual code or break the the repo in any type of way. I saw a question about tags. I'm not sure if you mean these tags here or tags anywhere else, but tags are essentially just another way to find information within GitHub. So we have a lot of tags here, and let's say I'm very interested in generative AI. What I could do is I can click on generative AI here, this tag, and all of the repos that have used this tag, for example, there's a Genome, Haystack. Also, I could find them pretty quickly. But I'm going to show you now going back to the code search. I think it's probably a more effective way of finding things as well. So let's say, again, this is a scenario. I just started working with OpenAI, and I want to find different repos who use the OpenAI package. Maybe I feel like, okay, maybe like here's a big one for you. Let's say OpenAI upgrades their Python package. What that means, if the code in other repos doesn't, if it pins to a version, so let's say it stays on a version, you might want to go around and be the angel of GitHub and save all of these repos from breaking, because if, let's say, I install a new version, maybe that will break all of these things. So I'm just going to type in OpenAI here. And what you'll see first, I'll go into is like I'll see actually repositories that mention OpenAI. So this is like the official library of OpenAI. There's an OpenAI translator. There's some people. So this is like a Swift community. It's like working with mobile applications. And then this is the package for using OpenAI, the public API. We've got one here in Azure. That are just all the Azure OpenAI samples, right? Another better insight, I think, is the code, for example. So I could actually go in to the code side and see how people are using this package. So this is another great way to learn things. I can also filter, and let's say I just want to work on Python. And let's see this label here. So this is someone kind of importing, working with the module, for example, as a Hugging Face. So this will give you some great insights on like how people are using it. And where they're using it within their code, and you can then click easily on these repos to find find more information about them. But let's say also to the point of contributing to open source, which should be hopefully a goal of yours at the end of this, I can go into the issues as well, and I can see all of the issues that have been logged on this side of things that mention OpenAI. So let's say here, like set up OpenAI. I don't know. Let's see what this one is. So this is like not a good, not a great issue, right? So this is what you might see. There's no description here. It just says set up OpenAI. This could be someone. I'm going to pick on this one here because this could be someone's personal repo and they're just logging issues for their own sake. But this is a good way to see things. So let's see if we can find one that's really good. Setting up OpenAI models. So this person is trying to use GPT-4 Turbo instead of GPT-4, and they're trying to make a change. And then you'll see like someone's like fixed this. So this is like a collaborator on this repo here. And as always, nice to see someone's like thanking them. So you'll see a lot of activity here, even though this issue is still open, which is interesting. I think this is a way to it's a great filter for finding things. And you can also find things like pull requests. Again, these are things that are in motion that should be reviewed. And again, you can filter out the language and stuff like that. And if you're looking for friends, I know we shared our GitHub username, so everyone should have like at least 10 followers now on their GitHub. But if you're looking for other people to follow, you can also find these things here on the search as well. So I could find people who work at OpenAI, which is a great way to find the community. So this is like a member of the technical staff, and it's completely free to follow people. It's no cost, and it's a good way to then you can connect. There's a lot of people who've made their life out of like following people in one organization and being at the latest of like when they see a PR in an open repo, they're like, oh, here's the new model coming out or something like that, like because they can see all this activity because it's all open source in terms of what is open source, obviously. So that's another great way to navigate and find people you might be interested in too, because then following people, I mean, GitHub is part Git and code repository, and I think part, I don't know if people in GitHub agree with me on this, that's okay, but part also social network or community. So these kind of bring both those combined. Let's see. Can we do a search on let's see, let me see. I don't know. On like spelling changes or error or something like this. Spelling error. I can go to issue here. Yeah. So if you really want to go into I say GitHub mode and like look at all the spelling errors you can fix. You can do search and spelling error and issues. There's 52,000 of them, so you'll be busy. Don't try to do all of them. I highly encourage you not to do that. But you'll find then all the issues here that maybe have spelling errors that are like this one's customer and then customer there. So maybe they don't have PRs, right? They don't have someone actually fixing them, so you can go in and find them. I would say, like I said before, really look at ones that are least detailed on where they are. So like, for example, that one, it just had like, here it is. So that's going to take you a lot of time in terms of finding where exactly that is in terms of, but maybe there's links to the code of where that is. And then like pull requests, right? There's 1 million active pull request for fixing spelling errors. So that just shows you, right? There's a lot of spelling errors in GitHub and a lot of people trying to fix them. So like I said, these are the silent heroes of GitHub is people fixing spelling errors and removing white space where things break. And you could be that person for sure. So the last thing I want to show you is another like bonus here. I think I can find it if I have GitHub sponsors. Yeah. So this is open source, right? All of these things. And lots of times people have committed their entire lives to working with open source, and they might not necessarily get, let's say, funding for their projects. So GitHub, I wouldn't say recently, but one of the other, not hidden features, but something that we should be definitely talking about is also being able to sponsor repos. So in this case, right, you can actually go in and give money or sponsor a repo that you want to, that you like, you use a lot. It's highly encouraged, and I think it's a really great way because, like I said, maintaining open source is a full-time job, especially for when you look at different applications that you probably are using daily that have breaking changes that need to be maintained. So the last thing I just want to show you is this GitHub sponsors. You can search for that as well. And you could see, for example, it'll actually, which is really cool here, which is a great feature I love, is that you could actually see, is this tax deductible? So relevant. I'm not sure. You gotta. I can't give you that answer if it's tax deductible or not. But one of the things is you can actually see how many repos you depend on, and what that means is like if all your repos, if they are using these packages or using these tools. So Git Sentry is like a massive one, obviously. So like I have 160 repositories that this person owns or maintains, that I am I depend on. So it's also a really good way to see that. You can click on sponsor here. You can also like filter out on different ecosystems. So let's say pip, which is like the Python one. Apply. I can see all the Python packages and things like that are really good. And then you can just go and sponsor. And then you can either set dollar amount that you like, custom amount, or $2 a month, things like that, right? So it's not we're not asking. Some people are asking for like all of your life savings. So it's a good way again, and you actually show up on your profile as well. The repos you sponsor. So it also shows to whether you're looking for a job that you are committed to open source. And again, it's just a great feeling to get the community going and maintain projects that you again might maintain. You might be working with daily, and overall a great thing to the community for sure. So that's going to wrap up, I think, a lot of the material that I wanted to cover on here. We're getting close to the hour mark. I'll look at if there's some questions here that I haven't answered. Supernova has asked, what does open source mean? And that's a really big question. I would say open source, there's many different definitions. There's a kind of, if you Google like search on open source and things like that, there's actually a standard definition of what open source to software means. I don't have all of the pillars of those things, but to basically put it simply is that open source is that the code is available on the internet that you can either modify, use, improve on in some type of way. So any code that you see on GitHub should be under an open source license. So you could copy that. I mean, you can clone that repo. I can make a fork of that repo and make a new application that's based on that, for example. So that's, I guess, the simplest way I can answer that. But do check out other official definitions if that's what you're looking for. Yeah, I love this tax deductible question. I wish I knew what that was. I'm not sure if the answer is that. Perfect. Okay, that was good. Ursula, I think, was asking about the GitHub code search, so we can throw that link in there as well. What can I do if my sandboxes don't work? Mike, I'm not sure. I think maybe, are you talking about is it code spaces that you're talking about? We talked a little bit about forks and branches and tags. That's a great question. Cool. So I'm going to wrap that up now, unless there's any other questions. Like I said, I'm going to go back to the chat, and all of you that you have added your GitHub name to, I'm going to give you a follow. So at least you have one follower if you don't have hundreds already, which I'm sure there's some people there. Oh, Megas has asked if there was a template for writing good issues. I don't think there's an official template per se. For example, if I go to our repository here, I think if I want to make an issue, the template comes up. So if I go to bug report, for example, what you'll see is you can actually build this in your repo itself. Where a template will be pre-populated. So, describe the bug, to reproduce, how to reproduce the bug, expected behavior. So what did you think was going to happen that's not happening? Screenshots. So anything that shows the problem, where this environment is happening. So your operating system, or if you've done your phone, and any additional context. So I think this is like a pretty good template, and this is not just saying that because it's part of the repo I'm maintaining, but you obviously want to have a place where you are finding that information. And yeah, so this is a good way to do it. Good way for you as a maintainer to find that to actually fix the issue. So that's probably what I think in a general term, what a good issue template is. So, Abril, I guess I'll end it there. I think we're going to share the certification links and stuff like that. So if you want to hop back on, or if you got it in the chat, we can do that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Corey, for this amazing presentation. I think everyone enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of it. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
So kind, so kind.
Yeah, like I love it. To be honest, I didn't know all this stuff about open source, and especially that we can support all the people that are working behind the scenes to support this amazing work. So I think this is such a great opportunity. Thank you so much, Corey, for all this information that you have shared with us.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you. So let's now talk about these voucher codes. So just also as a friendly reminder, as I have been sharing during the chat, and if not, then we will share that as well here also in the chat, the steps to redeem a code. Here's like just as a friendly reminder of all the steps that you need to do to redeem a voucher code that now I'm going to share. So, and also as a friendly reminder, during the checkout process on the PSI testing side, you will encounter a designated field where you can enter the voucher code to the zero balance. And these vouchers are good for the GitHub Foundation's certification. So you can use it for to take this certification. So this is the code that you can see here, and we will share that in the chat. I don't know why, but I think the lot size looks kind of weird, but as always, as a friendly reminder, you might be able to receive these vouchers on a first come, first serve basis. So please feel free to use it. It's actually right here. Thank you, Danny, for helping. Here's the code, as you can see on here, and we will have share that also in the chat so you can use it. If you have any questions, we'll be here for another 3 minutes, I think. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And yeah, definitely. And also, I'll be also sharing another great resources that this can help you prepare for this certification first site. And about your question, Oliver, please feel free to follow us on social media so you can get any updates that we might have or any live stream that we'll be sharing. And I'll actually Corey does a lot of live streams that are amazing, especially in AI. So if you would like to also follow him, it will be great. And actually also follow the Microsoft Reactor. They share a lot of live stream amazing on different topics, and also on some of them also about GitHub. So just follow them on social media and you will find more. And yeah, I'll be sharing that link just one more time, and that's the first one is for the steps to redeem the voucher, and the other one, just give me a sec. Had it right here. Here are the resources, well, actually the learning pad that you can use so to help you get prepared for the certification. And all these resources are completely free here on Microsoft Learn. This can help you definitely learn more about GitHub and prepare for this exam. Okay, actually, Danny just shared that on the chat so you can use it, and great. And if you're watching the live stream, just follow this link that is here in the chat, and you can follow these steps for to schedule your exam or anything. And what else? Yeah, there's also the learning path in that blog post. thank you all for watching. That will be all for us. So I hope to see you all soon, and please follow us in social media to keep posted on all of the events that we're planning for all of you. Thank you. Thank you also to Alicia and the GitHub team and the Reactor team for being here and for helping.